Hello everyone, back tuning in to today's second video. So I've already done the weekend forecast, and you can find the video tab here on the homepage. Just scroll down the page a bit and it's underneath the link ads. Going to be an interesting week's weather coming up with a lot of wet weather to start off with down in the south. Also quite a coldish week coming up as well, I think. But if you want to know more about weekend, do check out weekend forecast. This is the CFS 6 months look ahead, and as the name implies, we're going to go 6 months ahead with the long range CFS V2 model. So this is going to take us from next month, from December, right the way through until May 2017. Now, just for fun, the charts are there, so you might as well use them, but don't necessarily be taking it too seriously. I do think that the further out we go, the more unreliable it becomes. It is a bit dubious what we're doing here, really, but I know a lot of you do enjoy the CFS 6 month look ahead, so that's what we're going to be doing for tonight's update. And a big thank you to everybody for tuning in on your Saturday night. So before I get on with the CFS 6 month look ahead, just say about the ads that Gazov is. There's links to articles on all of the pages. You can have a browse widgets and click through the links. You'll be helping us to pay for the website. Thanks very much for doing that. There's also video ads on most pages, own content where you're watching my close book again and just have to pay gazwebits.com. And the shop is open, so if you've got any Christmas shopping to do at Amazon between now and Christmas, just click the green button that says Christmas shop. It'll take you to our Christmas shop page, and then from there the key to it all is to click through the Amazon banners, go directly to Amazon, because you're going from there, from here to there, from Gazwebits to Amazon. We get a revenue fee on the items that you are purchasing. A big thanks to everybody for doing that. Been a huge success so far. So we're going to have a look at the 700 millibar height anomalies from CFS V2 the next 6 months first of all. Then we'll have a look at corresponding temperature and precipitation anomalies that go with these charts. Let's get on with the update. We're going to start off with December. Now this is the closest month to where we are when we're doing the November update off the CFS 6 month look ahead, of course. So, in theory, this should be the most reliable part of all of this, really. And then the further out we go, the more unreliable it gets. So, on these charts, orange, yellow, red, brighter colours always extrapolate to high pressure, and blue extrapolates to low pressure. So, for December, it's placing an area of above average heights to the north and the northwest of the UK, around Greenland and Iceland. There's a trough of low pressure underneath it there through the middle part of the Atlantic. If we come over to this side of the chart, we've also got a deep trough extending through western parts of Russia. In fact, much of Russia is under a trough, and that does extend into the east and northeast of Europe as well. So I think the flow here is quite clearly going to be northerly, northeasterly, between the blocking that we've got over here and the trough that we've got over here, or I should say the blocking that we've got over there and the trough that we've got over here. I think between the two, the flow is going to have to be northerly, possibly even northeasterly. So this looks like a cold month to me. Most of Europe looks cold, and I think the British Isles would be cold as well. Keep an eye on this trough underneath the ridge. If that was to start riding under the blocking on a southerly tracking jet stream, that could bring snow to parts of the country, particularly perhaps to the south. So a cold December to start us off, I think we've got there. Now we get through to January and things look very different. All of that blocking has suddenly disappeared, and we find ourselves with a trough of low pressure out to the west, northwest of the UK. There's a very weak ridge down towards the south as well. So it does imply that westerlies, at least they're trying to come back in. But I am very dubious about what's going on up here. Where is all the blocking? Got this deep trough again through central parts of Russia, but where is the blocking? Where does it go from December through to January? Now, it is possible that we might see a complete flip around and lose the blocking from December to January, but I'm not sure about that. I think the model is quite probably underplaying underplaying the blocking signal there. So I think a bit of a pinch of salt is needed with that for January, to be honest. It's only 2 months away, but I reckon we could see more blocking than the model is showing as we get through into January. February looking like this, and again it looks quite Atlantic driven. Now we have got hints of some blocking up to the north. The yellow colours have come back a little bit. Look quite weak though. Generally for us we're Atlantic driven. Low pressure again to the north and west, reaching down towards Spain and Portugal, and the flow is coming in off the Atlantic. So that looks relatively mild, relatively unsettled as well, I think, as we're going through into February. Very dubious about these charts tonight from the CFS 6 months look ahead for, certainly for January and for February. Get through to March, and the signal looks very, very weak in March. Not sure what's going on. Deep trough, or a very weak trough, is around Iceland. Bit of a ridge down towards Spain. Otherwise, there's nothing else really to go at. Just a huge mass of white bear. I'm really not sure quite what's happening in March. 4 months away, so it is getting into a realm of being just for fun. Now, the signal gets a bit stronger again for April. So we've got below average heights to the north. This is a more typical pattern for spring. A ridge out to the west, and the flow probably doing something a bit like that. So it looks like westerlies, albeit fairly weakened, are coming back as we go through into April. And if this ridge down to the southwest, there could be prospect of a fair amount of settled weather. It's also possible it could be quite a chilly month. If a flow is doing something like that, then it would be a fairly coolish month in April. And then finally going through to May, 6 months ahead, so it's in the realm of being just for fun. Don't take it seriously at all. It's showing a ridge around the UK, so that looks like quite a nice month actually in May. Quite a lot of dry weather, and I would have thought pleasantly warm also. Right, let's have a look at the temperature anomalies then. We're going to come back to December, excuse me. So this is how the temperature anomaly is looking across Europe in December. First thing to note, of course, is very significantly colder than average for many northeastern and eastern parts of Europe, also going into western Russia as well, looking significantly colder than average there. Southern Europe looks fairly mild. That's okay, I think, with the setup. And then for the northwest, so sort of UK, Ireland, northern France, in towards Belgium, Holland, into Germany, and then of course to say Ireland, UK, northwest France. Looks average temperatures. I reckon based on the height anomaly, which remember is placing the high pressure all up here, and then we've got low pressure around here and around here and around here. I think between the two we'd be pulling in the winds from a northeasterly direction. So I would take this blue area, let's change the colour, I'd take this blue area and expand it more, something like that. I think we would have a colder than average month based on the height anomaly in December. We get through to January, and it's a completely different looking scene. All of that cold, all those cold anomalies in the northeast have gone, and it generally looks average to milder than average across most parts of Europe. Very, very dubious about this for January. Get through to February, it's even milder, so clearly CFS, as we get through to the middle and latter stages of winter, it wants to ramp up westerlies, wants to ramp up the jet stream. Remember what it's doing in February is it's raising the heights to the south. We've got low pressure out to the northwest. Did have a bit of blocking up here, but it looked quite weak. And overall, it's just bringing those westerlies in, which explains why it's such a mild signal as we get through into February. I am really dubious about its forecast for January and for February this month. Confusion for March continues. What the model is going for in March is very difficult to say. It just looks very average signal there. The warmer than average temperatures that we have in January, particularly February, have gone. So March really is a puzzle on this. I'm very unsure what the model is trying to do in March. Don't think we better dwell too much on that. April turns milder than average in the northeast of Europe. Elsewhere, it's just an average signal. Again, remember, got a ridge somewhere around there, and low pressure is up here. So the jet stream possibly is doing something a bit like that, which would explain why it could be a cooler signal, actually, in April. But it's 5 months away, so it's not worth worrying about. And then 6 months away, We go through to May, and again, the signal looks really, really weak. Hopefully, it's going to start firming up a little bit more from this for the spring from next month, because I've got all winter updates. Winter forecast is out the way. We're doing winter forecast on the 1st of December, of course. After that's all out of the way, we move on with the long range to spring from next month. So I'm hoping that we'll see a little bit more of a clearer signal from next month than this is showing. But there really isn't very much to work on at all for the spring. The idea from the model for May is that it wanted to have a ridge in this sort of area, which I would have thought send the jet stream through a bit like that. So you would have thought this area would be quite warm. Let's hope for a nice warm early summer type spell in May. And then finally, we have a look at precipitation anomalies. So December looks like this. It looks drier than average in the northwest of Europe. You would expect that, really, because it's a very blocked type scenario with high pressure all in this sort of area, which is blocking off the westerlies. The westerlies are essentially going down here, which is why Spain, Portugal and so on coming out wetter than average. So you'd expect really this to be drier than average in the northwest. That makes sense. Notice drier to the west of the UK and across Ireland, average in the east. That's because the flows coming in off the east possibly bringing showers onto the eastern side. And dare I say it, some of those could be a bit on the wintry side. There might be some snow on the eastern side. Driest anomalies out to the north and west, close to that ridging. January, again, complete change around in January, which goes a little bit wetter than average to the west and to the south as well. It implies that there's low pressure out here, and we're beginning to return the westerlies, so it begins to turn more unsettled. And that just continues into February, which looks significantly wetter than average month. Notice, interestingly, Norway is coming out drier than average, so it probably implies there is high pressure up here. And it's also implying, I think, that the jet stream is on a southerly track. I'm not at all sure about what the model is doing for January and February. I'm not at all convinced that CFS has this right for either January or for February. To be honest, watch this space, I think, on those 2 months. Confusion continues for March as well. No real precipitation anomaly, just as there was no real temperature anomaly, and there was no real height anomaly either. So March really is an enigma on this month's update of CFS V2. Strongest signal, possibly wetter than average through southern parts of Europe and drier than average up here. So again, implying there could be ridging around Norway, parts of northern Scandinavia. Low pressure could be through here. I might be reaching a little bit to try and find something to go on for March, but trying to make sense of what it's doing, it could be sending a jet stream down there. It could be bringing easterly winds into us, but if it was, you expect much of northern, central, western Europe to be colder than the models suggest. It just has average temperatures, really, for March. So, bit of an enigma in March, but maybe with a little bit of wintry potential coming through there. April, well, we've got high pressure out here, so it looks drier than average across the west of Europe, really. Jet stream probably is doing something like that, or maybe could be doing something a bit like that. Anyway, I think it could be quite an unsettled and coolish month for Central Europe. For British Isles, probably a fair amount of dry and settled weather with that ridge just out to west of Ireland. Then we go through to May, and it looks drier than average. So this is what you would expect with what the model is doing. Remember, it's placing a ridge round here and here, which sends the jet stream through into that sort of position. You expect much of northern, western and central Europe to be driving average. That makes sense in terms of what the model is doing there for May, but it's 6 months away, so subject to very vast and drastic changes. I just want to come back to the 700 millibar heights and recap on December. So this is what the model is forecasting now. I'm doing a video on the 18th of November. This is its December forecast. Let's see what it was showing when we did the CFS 6 months look ahead last month in October. So this is how it was forecasting December in October. very, very different at this point last month. We were seeing a ridge around Spain and France, low pressure out to the northwest, which would give us a very mild month. It would have been a milder than average forecast from a CFS. Yes, a little bit of blocking up to the northeast, but nothing at all as strong as what Mod is actually forecasting now. Recap of what it's doing now with all of those above average heights around Greenland, Iceland. That's what it was doing last month. I don't think the CFS V2 has a handle on this winter. I'll say that right now. I think, well, quite obviously, it's done quite a major flip for December from where it was last month, what it was forecasting last month, to what it's forecasting now. So that's the first thing to say. It is moving a lot this winter. Last winter it was very consistent with its ideas for westerly, southwesterly, Atlantic-driven weather. This year it's a very different story. It keeps playing around with blocking, tries to bring blocking in, and then takes it away again or reduces it, only to bring it back again. So I think we've just got to take this month by month, to be honest. Although at the moment it's going for an increasingly mild Atlantic-driven January and February. Because it's changed so much for December, I think there has to be a really big question mark on what it's showing for January and for February. So I just urge you to take it with a pinch of salt, more so than normal. We do say it's just for fun anyway, but more so than more normal, take it with a pinch of salt. And I think we're going to take this on a month-by-month basis. And I've got a feeling, I might be wrong, we'll find out next month, but I've got a feeling that January, when we do next month's CFS 6 months look ahead, January will look very different compared to how it's looking right now. And it could be as big a change as what December has been compared to what it was showing last month, compared to what it's showing this month. So just watch this space. That's the message from today's CFS 6 months look ahead. Right, tomorrow we are doing the 10th and penultimate Winter 16-17 update. Now, for most of the autumn, the 10th winter update was supposed to be the final winter update. But I thought it was going to be ending too early. So it's the penultimate one tomorrow. Then there'll be an 11th and final update a week tomorrow. I think that's going to be the 27th of November. It means that the seasonal model roundup, I'll talk about this much more when I do the winter update tomorrow, but it means that the seasonal model roundup, the last one of those for the winter, will be the day before. It'll be a week today. Very exciting, really, because I've never done this before. Had the winter model roundup on a Saturday and a winter update on the Sunday. It's just the way the calendar has fallen this year. So this time next week, we'll have the final seasonal model roundup for the winter, and then the day after that, on the Sunday, we'll have the final winter update. Tomorrow, however, it's the 10th winter update, so come back for that. And also in the evening, of course, we'll have another look at Christmas. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks for tuning in on your Saturday evening. I know it's a big ask you to be tuning in on your Saturday evening, so big thanks to everybody for doing that. And that's all for now. Thanks very much for watching.